review of what we have covered throughout this week. Okay. Now I'm going to start the class by telling you a story. So this news comes in this week. Okay. This gentleman is Henry Lee. Very, very famous forensic scientist. Okay. Doing the forensics like criminal cases. Okay. So he works for the state of Connecticut, okay, and he has done some really high-level investigations. So people my age all know him, okay. So in the 1990s, there happened an incident. A very famous football player called O.J. Simpson, and his wife at that time had a boyfriend. They had marriage problem. And one day the wife and the boyfriend were killed, cold-bloodedly. Somebody used a knife. And so it was in national news. Every day they were fighting, and the police all point finger to O.J., saying that he is the one that killed, okay? And Henry Lee was the star witness in that case, okay? One of the famous thing is the killer used a glove to kill the two persons. And on TV, they are trying to fit the glove on O.J.'s hand, saying that this is not him because the glove doesn't fit his hand. So it was a very famous case. And O.J. is still in jail. So eventually, the defendant were able to clear him, but then he lost in the criminal court. He was free, but in the civil court, he was being charged with crime. Okay, so and Henry Lee was very famous. Okay, for both as a star witness in that case, and then, but what happened this week is that a case that he investigated 30 years ago, being overturned. Okay, so what happened was in 1985, December 2nd. There was a gentleman was stabbed many, many times in his own home. Okay, so there's blood everywhere. Okay, but so they were looking for who did it, and there were two teenagers, 18 years old, was stealing a car. They were caught, and the police say these are the two criminals. Okay, but there was no fingerprints, nothing, and the only thing that was found was a towel that has blood stained, okay, hypothetically. Well, Henry Lee connects that with these two. So this is the two guys today. This is the car they steal, okay. Each of them was sentenced for 50 years in jail. Okay, so they served 30 years, but they maintain that they are innocent, okay. And so Henry Lee had a pre-concept that he believed these two are the people. So the towel that's supposed to be blood-stained, it was red. It has a lot of red color, but it was not blood. He never go in and look at what that liquid is. He just claimed that towel give up the connection, okay, with the blood stain in the bathroom. Well, now Henry Lee is going on national TV very often to defend himself because he's very famous, and suddenly something that he has done 30 years ago got overturned, so he has to defend, and he was on TV. He's very old now, but so it kind of reminds me of William Mulholland for the dam case. Okay, so. And so when the Washington Post was talking about this case, they were saying in 1989, when Henry Lee was defending he said the stain was probably blood. Probably, why don't you just do a very simple test to prove it's blood, right? But he didn't even go that far, okay? And this become his downfall. So this case is still going. Okay, we don't know what will be the outcome, but it got reopened, And so the investigation start again, 30 years after the case. Okay, imagine if you investigate a forensic case. Okay, after 30 years, they come back and tell you, hey, you have to come out, your diagnosis is wrong, and you have to either be investigated or you have to do the investigation again. Okay, so this is really, really the challenge, because many things has been done. The house is probably being demolished. The only thing you can go by is if the police has any evidence stored. Okay, and in our case, you probably have to go back through the news or whatever that's available, and then reconstruct your hypothesis. Okay, and then build up your evidence to support. And that is why in forensic investigation, the most important part should not be just your qualification. It's the investigation that has to be done. Okay, and how can you prove your investigation is correct? That part in civil engineering is still something that is being developed. Okay, so there are actually a number of guidelines that you can reference. Okay, for example, for earthquake investigations, for hurricane, cyclone investigations, there is a Applied Technology Council, APC, that actually publish guidelines for that kind of investigation. Okay, so you need to know where to find your tools. Okay. So Ralph and Shen, they each already wasted 30 years of their life. Now they are all men in their 40s and 50s. Finally they get another chance for their innocence to be proven, if they are. Okay. Now this is a very important statement regarding that case. So the Supreme Court in the U.S. is the highest court. So they did not accuse Henry Lee for any false testimony, because if they decide he is false testimony, then he has to go to jail. Okay, but they did not say that. But they did say that his testimony was not accurate. And this is probably more damaging than saying that he gave false testimony, because he is the expert. So now people are questioning, he may have done thousands and thousands of cases. Now people are questioning, well, because of this one case, the rest may all be wrong. Okay, and that is really, really damaging for him, as for his reputation. Okay, and that's really, really critical. Okay, now I'm just going to go through some of my own investigations, and then I'll talk a little bit about disaster assessment. Okay, some just pictures. Okay, but this is a case where we're studying sinkholes. Okay, and I have shown you pictures of geo aspect of analysis and the mapping validations. Okay, but from a structural perspective, there are also evidence that you can build together. Okay, so this is a wooden house. Okay, and over the years, you can see the owner has added components to it. So this wing and this second story are all new. Relatively new construction. The owners built it out. Okay, every time that people make a modification, and the other day we were at a restaurant. We know the owner, and he made many, many modifications to the structure. So every time that you do a modification to the structure, there is a likelihood of you introduce some damage to the existing structure. Okay, especially for wood structure. Okay, but it's up to the forensic experts to determine whether that damage was really, really because of construction or because of the problem that you're investigating. In this case, sinkholes. Okay, so we recognize, first study where they are and look at where are the mine boundaries. Okay, so in this case, the house was not within the mine boundary. Okay, but close enough. Okay, so why would there be a sinkhole? And notice that there is a river that runs by. Okay, whenever there is a river, there's the likelihood of fluctuation of groundwater. Okay, and then soil erosion, and there are many possible problems. Okay, so it's a very complicated case. We crawl underneath the building. So in America, the houses are built in two types. One is on slab like this, okay, concrete slab, or on elevated ground. Okay, so they have either using cinder blocks or use wood piles to lift the bottom. The reason, one is flooding, the other one is they can have ventilations underneath. Okay, so this is very common, and I don't like this because sometimes you crawl under and there are snakes, so yeah, and dead bodies of rats and stuff, so this makes a nice home for a snake, and I don't like to crawl underneath. Okay, you never know what you will find. Anyways, we found several sinkholes nearby the house. And so we draw out the schematic. So this is the creek, this is the home, and we map out all the holes. Notice that all the holes are very close to the river. Okay, and the mine is on this side. Okay, but since it's close to the creek, there is a high chance that those are probably due to the creek. Okay, but we cannot make our conclusion. We still have to look at the building itself. Okay. And so we went in and looked at every room and map out all the damages. Okay, so notice that the house actually sustained a significant damage. Okay, when we look at the damages and look at the tilting of the house, so the house is already tilting inside. We actually generate directions, and we notice that all of them are pointing towards one direction. So that means the house has experienced differential settlement on that end, okay? And the river is this direction, so you can see that the building is actually leaning away from the river. Okay, and this shows you a little more detail of how the building is tilting. Okay, and this is all the damages. So this kind of damages, significant opening of a wood wall is definitely something structural, okay, because wood is very elastic, okay, compared to concrete or steel. So they go to thermal cycles and whatever, they can elongate a lot during the summertime, okay, but they will not crack in such a fashion. This was by force, okay, and then you can see a wood piece suddenly broke in half, okay. All these are very curious on the lintel. Okay, this is the lintel beam. Usually it's one piece, but then they break in half. That means something must have happened. Okay, and then when you go outside, you see the wall breaks all cracked through. Okay, so those are all due to large forcing. Okay, something significant must have happened. Okay, and then a cinder block that was displaced. Okay, so all this indication that the building, and you can see this, the flooring from first floor to second floor, was tilted in all directions. Okay, and so this is just an example. So this is they have building damage. Okay, they already know there's building damage, so they invite somebody to give an estimate how much it will cost to repair the house. Okay, so why is this important? This is one evidence that you can actually indirectly prove that the building has damages. Okay, because every item listed here you can use to confirm your investigation. Okay, so if that wall has a crack, and if the construction the builder look at that wall and say normal, you don't have to repair, then it's not a significant crack, right? So if the builder that they invited actually give a quantification of the problem, then it is very obvious that those problems are significant. And this is the final cause is extremely important, because that is the basis that the lawyer is going to go to the next step, is to demand, this is how much I want you pay out for repairing this home. Okay, so usually when they did this estimates, it may take a long time before they actually do the repair. Okay, but this is a good basis. This is definitely a valid evidence in the court. Okay, and then so our opinion is on Mr. Short's property there is differential settlement. Okay, and they are within the subsidence zone of the mine. Okay, what that is so even though we know that they are not within the mine boundary, but they are within the angle of repose or the angle of inference. Okay, so this is the coal mine boundary. Okay, so there is typically you can establish, and this is old school. Okay, we will have an estimate of a zone.
How long we will be continuing this lecture?
Why?
Probably because the institute dean, the one we had our dinner the other day, they want to present you the memento.
Oh.
They also want to give you some
What time
memento.
do they want to
so
come?
that's what they are telling, that when we are
Finishing?
when we are finishing, when we are giving the memento to
They
you,
will come.
they also want to
Okay,
give
okay,
you some
sure,
memento.
sure, okay.
So shall we tell them to come by 12:30?
Okay, 12:30.
It will last for another an hour time, no?
Yeah, hour will be fine. Yeah.
An hour. Okay. So
Yes.
I'll tell them to be here by 12:30.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, boss.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you.
Because the dean also is coming.
Uh-huh.
The man who had
Dinner with
you.
us, Raman.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, yes, yes, sir. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so continuing that angle of inference. Okay, so if the building is within that boundary, okay, you can argue that may be the cause. Okay, again, probable cause. Okay, and so in this case, we think because they are so close, only 100 feet, it's not very far. A mine 1,000 feet below, there can be some kind of inference. Okay, and those are all you can find in mining textbooks. So nobody will argue. Okay, and so we show that, and then the damage of the short residence demonstrate that the house is leaning. Okay, so there's no question that the damage within the house was not tear and wear, like they live in the house, somebody get drunk and boom, boom, boom. That was not the reason, because we demonstrate that it is moving. Okay, and so that, and then if you see where that building is, it's actually within the whole mining. So this is area where there are a lot of active mines. Okay, so because they are within that region, the likelihood of they being influenced is very high. Okay, in fact, some of those places they have a lot of lawyers. Just get ready to sue the mining company because they know eventually some of those houses will have problems. Okay, and this is our algorithm. So we published in 2018 on how mine subsidence happen. Okay, so there are a lot of theories, but unfortunately, in mining mechanics, the long-term effect instability mechanism is not properly structured. Okay, so we're trying to create our own theory of how pillars collapse. Okay, all of them are due to either the roof unstable or the pillars collapse. Okay, so these are things that are really important because our paper is published. Okay, refereed, and people can cite this, and so it becomes a credible source. Okay, and this is some pictures I can find on the internet of what happened when mine collapse. Okay, so because it's very dangerous, so not many people have actually seen it unless you work closely in the coal mines. But when mine collapse, it's a progressive process. It sometimes sudden, sometimes take a long time to creep down. Okay, and so but the challenges I mentioned is all these rocks becomes unstable and they fill in the void. Okay, so how big is that zone? Nobody knows. Okay, if you have to do a very thorough study of this, you have to do a coring, and that will be very expensive. Most of this building damage due to mine subsidence, they will not give you the kind of money to do coring. Okay, and so it becomes really challenging for structural engineers to verify your data based on this. Okay, any questions about this? Yeah. And this is another view of the distance of the building to the mine activity site. Okay. This is another building that we investigate, and in this case, oh no, sorry, this is another case. This is surface mining, okay, and they were doing a lot of blasting in this area, and then they were looking at, this house damage. Is it probably due to vibration from that location? Okay, and again, it's a nice building, but this building has not been modified. You can see all these are original constructions. Okay, there are a lot of cracks on the building. Okay, and you see those diagonal distribution of cracks, separation between the steps and the pavement. Okay, and you can see that there are strong forcing. So the handrails are usually built very strong, but the top part usually gets damaged, not the bottom part, because people put in their weights on it, right? But in this case, the bottom part gets separated. So there's this separation is due to this slab separating from that, okay? And then the pavement are usually continuous, so they are very strong, right? So it takes a lot of force for it to pull it aside. Okay, you can see on the other end how big that the separation is, okay? So you can claim that the railing damaged because of the bottom separation, foundation problem, not from the top, okay? And those are very important evidence. And then you see more damages, okay, between the break and the slab interface. Okay, and then there are wall separations, very clear separations both for the facade. So American homes are usually built with false facades. Okay, in other words, it may look like brick, but it's not. We have this practice ever since George Washington. Okay, so even the first president, his home in Washington, in Virginia, the outside are all fake. Okay, and this is because when the Americans coming from Europe, from England, they wanted to mimic their homes look like English home. So, but instead of using real stones, they usually just create. So, facade is a very unique construction technique in America. And you can see a lot more damages to the door frame, lintel separations, and so forth. So this is overall the house is really nice. Okay, so it's well built. It's about 25 years old. Okay, but you see those isolated damages. That's usually an indication of something happened. Okay, not naturally. Okay, not the aging of the building. And then when you go outside, then you see really, really big cracks on the pavement. All these are indications some kind of ground movement. Okay, and then this is a fireplace, so you see a lot of damages on the site. That the fireplace construction starts separating from the rest of the building, and then cracks inside of the house. Okay, so we have inspected many of homes, and when you start seeing those, you kind of know this got to be due to some external reasons, construction vibration, and so forth. And then the sinkhole on the property. There are many sinkholes. Okay, all this are indication of the ground got shaken loose because of the constant blasting from the vibrations. And then this is in the basement. So they have this house has a basement, and you can see a through crack. Okay, so the evidence is very obvious. Okay, this is due to, but is it related to the mining and the blasting? That is the big question. Okay, and then so again we map out all the damages from every point. So this is really important that you document, and not only document but also draw out. So this is one limit that you guys, when you do the civil engineering building, if you have put all the cracks you observe on the building, the entire building may show you some pattern, and that will give you help in claiming the damage mechanism. Okay, so that is something yet to be done for both civil engineering and building. Yeah, here. Okay, now I wanted to show you. So we have been through this, but now I'm going to tell you what we use the laser scan data for. Okay, so we know that this St. Mary's track and field site has a differential settlement of some kind. The retaining wall is moving away from the structure. Okay, but as a forensic inspector, you ought to be able to quantify how much is that deformation. Okay, and since the wall is very big, okay, we use the laser scan, and then based on that to quantify the damage case scenario. Okay, so just again, this is the aerial, and all of this is the retaining wall. Okay, so the slope goes in that direction, and the retaining wall goes all the way from this part of the road across over. Okay, and so when you are on the track, you see physical separations. This is like, more than 10 centimeters apart. So we know that it is deforming. But how does it deform on the wall is what laser can help you. Okay, and so this is what we have seen before, the scan. Okay, and the different angles and the three-dimensional. And when we go in there using the laser, so not all of you have point cloud analysis experience. Okay, you can actually calculate how much was that movement, but it's all relative, right? And so what we did is we literally measure on every of those surface blocks, and then this is just representation and show how much it is deformed. Okay, and this is really important because now you see that using point cloud, and I think many of you start realizing that it's not easy if you don't have an automated procedure, because you go in there and physically have to make sure that you pick the right point. Okay, but when you are using the cloud compare, well, in this case, there's another software. We were able to measure the physical distance of displacement. Okay, and when you plot all of them together, like what we did here, then you can see the wall displacement. And when you do a lot of them, you realize that they are not necessarily the same. Okay, so you can see the values are different. Okay. So we go through the entire wall, and we plot them together. Suddenly you realize that they are not uniform displacement. Okay, and I think this is the best picture. So you see from our scan that it's actually bulging on this side. So this is the original, this is the bulging part, and then it's bulging here and here, and then here you have less deformation. Okay, so what this is showing you is that when the wall is pushing out, the curved sides have more displacement than the horizontal part. Okay, and so this displacement, this side and this side have more effects than here. So that is a geometric effect, okay, of retaining wall displacement. Okay, but that only indicates that it is deforming. It doesn't tell us how it is deforming, what failed. Okay, and so now, of course, the client, our client, take this and then go to court. Okay, with the construction of the retaining structure. Okay, so that company will have to pay out for this wall failure. Okay. Okay, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about disaster forensic work. Okay, so this is disaster forensic work usually involve a team of inspectors. Okay, and I already alerted to some of the challenges. For example, one is everybody will be doing their own thing. Okay, unless you have a systematic way of doing, but which is very unlikely in the disaster scenario, because when you first on the ground, you're disoriented because there may be a physical building, but it's gone. So, left, right, it's very difficult. So usually we use the technique called the swarm analysis. So everybody go out and take their own pictures. Okay? And you document, okay, I did this building and I did that building. And then afterwards, when we come back, then we collectively look at all the data. But that technique has one challenge in the old days. Unless you write very clear documentation, this picture was taken for this building at what time. Otherwise, it is very difficult for you to go back and trace one crack in the picture. Okay, so the GPS camera becomes very useful. Okay, but the other thing that is challenging in disaster assessment, and so you see that we actually hire guards with machine guns. Okay, so in this particular case, people are hungry, so they've been looting. Okay, so they've been stealing and looting, and a lot of crimes were happening. So your safety comes first. Okay, so when I take the team to Philippines, the Philippine ASC told us that you have to hire 2 security guards with guns. Okay, so we did that.
Photo is from Philippines. Is this from Philippines?
Yeah. This whole series of pictures are from the Philippines. So the first site I will show you are the Philippines.
Even after this disaster, people do the stealing job and everything when they are in a grief situation, sorrow situation.
Yeah.
They come and they snatch things and they go.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
It's quite common over there.
Very common, especially in the Philippines. Yeah. So there are some people by nature nicer in some places. In Puerto Rico, looting going on 5 months after. Yeah. So it's a very dire situation. Yeah. And in fact, when we were doing the investigation, at one point the situation becomes dangerous because people start following us. Yeah, and so the security guards told us, you guys move faster and we'll stay behind just in case. Yeah. So this is very important, especially if you are the team leader like myself. Your team member's safety is very important. Yeah. So you have to be mindful always of the situation. And then, of course, people will be doing all kinds of stuff. So, like this guy is trying to do some measurements, and sometimes you have to be careful because the owners may be aware that the government is trying to do assessments, and then insurance company may be doing. So they are very conscious. Hey, if you say my house is good, then I don't get the money. So they may come and they may chase you out of the house. So you have to have some kind of coordinated negotiation with the owners of the house. Okay, and so we brought, these are our interpreters. So we don't speak the local language. So we have people who can speak with them, travel with us. Okay, and this is something that our VISAC team is very familiar with. So because there are so many buildings that you are studying, you need to know, so you document and list all their names. Okay, so we have our naming mechanism for each of the buildings. Okay, and so here you see that in the beginning of a set of pictures, then he will indicate this is what building. Okay, and we take a physical picture as an evidence. Okay, and then you use your tape measures to do all the quantifications. You need to know the size of the building. You need to know the reference relative size of some of the critical damages. Okay, and this is one case where a coastal building was significant damaged. So what happened? Is the wave so strong that it actually do this damage? So actually a car that actually was floated and then hits on this. So this is a security guard's HUD. And it was the car impact caused the damage. Okay, but the top is not. Top was probably due to some other mechanism. And then you can see further evidence. This was by very strong forcing. Okay. And then here's some close-up. And then so you have to quantify the damages, so do some basic measurements, especially because we are not from the Philippines, so we don't know their practice. So you need to know how big is the rebars and so forth. And, significant cracks. So this gentleman is actually from the U.S. Army. So when we were doing the investigation, we got both the Army, the ASC interested in this study, because this is the strongest hurricane ever in human history. So everybody got to become very interested. And then you have very large buildings. This is again an athletic field, okay, and so you can see those are not due to tears and wears. And when your people are traveling to see those kind of sites, they will be everywhere. Okay, so I always, as the leader, try to make sure that I know where everybody is, just in case somebody get into trouble, especially for big area. Okay, so you need to be constantly mindful of what's happening around you. Okay, so those are just skills that you build as you do more and more of this kind of investigation. Okay, you have a responsibility for every member that you take with you. Okay, and this is very high up, so you want to make sure that your members doesn't get too enthusiastic and start climbing. Okay, so their safety is again very important. Okay, and then you see some buildings that are demolished to this level. So this site has already been cleaned up. Okay, these are just the remainings. And most likely these are, standing since the disaster. Okay, they only clean up what's on the ground. And but being able to look at this and reconstruct what's happened to the site is, a lot of times based on experience and based on everybody talking and discussion on the problem. Yeah. This is Puerto Rico. Okay, I think I missed the slide, but just looking at this picture, you may not feel, storm has ever been there. Okay, and this is very typical of a hurricane or cyclone, because the cyclone comes in, it doesn't eat everything. Okay, and then you see some areas look nice, and then you don't recognize this is really a disaster area. Okay. Yeah, that picture was displaced. I'll show you more. And so this is Vizag. So one of our colleagues was there, and he was doing the main job, showing the building names. And this is actually at Vizag Andhra University. Okay, so this is a main meeting hall, and you can see this damage on the ceiling. Okay, all this is due to the storm. Okay, so we find ways to get up there. This is actually a auto sales company, and on the top they have a secondary structure. So it was built with steel truss. Okay, so this is the natural roof for the building, but that additional truss was totally damaged by wind. Okay, and this is almost to Alto Naga. Yeah, on the way to Alto Naga, but so again, it's very far away from the coastal area. In fact, from the bottom, you don't see any damage. I think this is the same building. No, this is a mall. Yeah, this is a different building. But you can see, oh, the top is all damaged. Okay, and then even the exterior facade is gone. Okay, and this is actually near the coastal area. Some manufacturing plant. You can see how the windstorm has caused so much damage to this structure. In fact, one of the I think the boiler was blown and then was rolling away from the plant itself. So and this picture was taken when our car was driving at high speed. Okay, so we take a shot on the highway. Okay, so you have to be able to constantly taking pictures. Okay, and this is actually a meeting ground. I think this is north of along the highway. I don't remember the name of this place, but again, this may very likely be water damaged. Okay. Yeah, and of course you get to enjoy a lot of food traveling. Yeah. So this is yes. Do you have something to comment? No. Okay. Yeah, but this is the head jury of the civil engineering at Andhra University. So he took us out and treated us with a very nice Vizag meal. Yeah. Okay, so going back to Puerto Rico, this actually follows the previous picture. So we're driving towards the coastal area, and everything looks very nice, right? The only thing that you start realizing that looks funny is the coconut trees has very few leaves, and some of them even look like new leaves. Okay, so that's one indication that there was a very strong wind come by. Okay, and some of the leaves were only on one side. So that's usually the first indication that there is a disaster in this area. Yeah. Yeah, the camera time may be wrong. Yeah, camera time may be wrong. Yeah. And then when you go further, then you start looking at signs for damage. Okay, so we see that this sign has nothing on top. Either they took it out or it was wind damage. You don't know. But usually this is a sign structure is a good indication of how strong the wind is. Okay, because you see this sign structure is completely bring down. Okay, by the wind force. And this is what I was calling the blue top analysis. So a lot of the buildings, the U.S. insurance companies started using this blue tarp to cover the roof because there's roof damage. And so when you use aerial imaging, you can quantify all the roof damage using the blue top analysis. And of course, this is not natural happening. When you are driving very fast, it's hard to catch this. Okay, and so when we were driving, everybody was holding their camera and they were turning left and right and left and right. It was chaotic, but it was fun. So the other guy also took another picture. So he was sitting in the back. So yeah, he actually was able to get another shot of this fallen structure. Okay. And then, of course, on the coastal area, you see coconut trees completely rooted. That is a good indication of very strong wave. Okay, and this is a beach front, and whenever you look at this kind of damage, that shows you strong waves that has come up. Okay, because if they were to build this at this part of the sidewalk on the beach, that means the wave usually will not reach this. Okay, the wave being able to damage all this, that means the wave has gone so much inland. Okay, and then you see structures that are very, very poorly damaged. Okay, so we will walk around this building. This building was about I want to say maybe 10 meters above the ocean, So that kind of gives you a sense, wave may be up there, but maybe wind. Okay, so either way, this structure has severely damaged. And you'll be walking around the beach, and you can see all this are due to wave action. Okay, so they bring rocks on top, and then they push all this breaks down. In fact, a lot of sand was deposited on the opposite side. Okay, so those are all indications. And in fact, if you go up there and look at all the railings, many of them have damages due to the storm. Okay, so those are really important indications, and also there are some other things that you need to be cautious. So, like this is Matt. Matt was wearing shorts and short sleeves, and I'll tell them make sure you have tanning lotions, so you don't get sunburn. White people they get sunburn easily, right? Then skin cancer, and then mosquito bites. There are so many things that you need to be prepared for this kind of field work. Okay, if there's heavy debris, then usually I require them not to wear open toe. So you see that he's wearing tennis shoes. Sometimes you have to wear very thick sword walking shoes to make sure you work in those environments. Because if you get a nail hurting you may get infection and other problems. So those are the things that you need to be aware of. And I believe I also leave some gloves with Shen that I brought from America, that whenever we go and do a damaged building inspection, we make sure that your hands are protected as well. Okay, so you can start imagining if you are regularly doing this kind of business, you need to have all your gears set up and ready to move. Okay, there are some things that may involve a little extra, especially if you're doing international investigations, such as when we go to the Philippines. Is that you need to communicate with the local people. Okay, even though we're coming from America, we are conscious that you are in a sovereign state. You cannot just go in there and start doing things like your own home. Okay, so the Philippine trip was a little bit challenging for me personally because I don't know anybody in the Philippines. Okay, so I actually looked up our membership roster in ASC, and I found a gentleman that was responsible for ASC Philippine chapter. So I just write him an email. He didn't reply, so I call Philippines and talk to him. Luckily, his records are updated, so I was able to talk to him. And it was very interesting because he told me, he's like, oh, good. I was trying to tell him what we are trying to do. And he said, good, but you have to be in Hawaii on this date. I'm like, oh, Hawaii? No, I want to go to the Philippines. He said, no, you have to understand, there is an annual Asian civil engineering meeting, and that will happen in Hawaii. And our government civil engineers will be at that meeting. And if you want, and especially the Institute of Civil Engineers, the president of the Institute of Civil Engineers of Philippines will be at that meeting. So if you go there, you can make a face-to-face pitch for your case. I'm like, okay. So I noted down. And it's very interesting because at that time, ASC approached our committee and asked, can you guys send somebody to Philippines to do this investigation? We agreed. And that's why my team assigned me to form the team. Okay. In fact, the people that I took with me are all no longer the original team. The reason is because when they asked me, once I collect the names of the people who will be going, and I call ASC and say, my team is ready. They're like, why are you going there? I'm like, wait a minute. You asked me to form the team to go. Now you ask me, why are you guys going to the Philippines? So I was scratching my head like, I don't understand. And so I ended up spending over a month writing a proposal why we are going to the Philippines. Yeah, so now suddenly it becomes my job to do this. I'm like, okay. So I wrote the proposal and I sent it to them, and they are saying, well, do you have any contact in Philippines? I've never done any international work. I don't know, So they're like, unless you have local contact, we'll not let you go. Okay, so I start approaching this Philippine fellow, and this Philippine fellow told me, you have to go to Hawaii in order to get approval to go to the Philippines. Okay, and then at the same time, I'm also approached our National Science Foundation, request funding from them as well, because I'm taking so many people. I imagine, so many buildings you have to investigate, you need a big team, right? And ASC doesn't give me that much money, so I'm getting more money from another source. But the unfortunate thing is, the National Science Foundation project manager, his name is Kosher Mehta. He is a very Indian, originally from India. He's a very famous wing engineer, and he wrote a lot of the ASC guidelines on wing damage, wing load, okay? And I have taken his class before through FEMA. And he knows the gentleman at ASC that's dictating my funding. So he told me, unless ASC give you the money, I'm not giving you the money. And I called the guy from ASC. He said, unless NSF give you money, I'm not going to give you the money. So I was like, okay, what can I do? So I called them, and then it was a day before 2 days before the Hawaii trip, and nobody told me that the funding is being approved or not. In fact, ASC told me that it will be months before I heard from them if I can get the money. So I'm doing my daily business, and then Dr. Mehta called me, asked me, Shannon, why are you doing in your office? I'm like, I'm meeting with my graduate students. We're talking about our research. He said, no, I thought the Hawaii meeting is 2 days from now. Why are you still in your office? I'm like, because nobody told me we have funding to travel. He said, no, if you're passionate about this project, even on your own money, you should go. I have never, at that time, I think I was close to 50 years old, and I have never had another person give me a lifetime lesson. And I really appreciate, I consider Dr. Mehta one of the people that has a strong influence in my personal life, okay? Honestly, from that point on, I do things totally different. So I call my chairman, I say, this is what Dr. Mehta told me I need to do. And he's like, well, Shannon, that's a lot of money, because last minute you want to buy an airline ticket to Hawaii, cross the Pacific, that's going to be very expensive, So, okay, I'll help you half. Why don't you come out with the other half money? I said, okay. I talked to my wife. My wife said, okay, just go. So I bought overnight ticket to fly out next day, and then I booked the hotel that the conference is supposed to be. And I just went to Hawaii. Hawaii is very humid. So at that time I have very long hair. The moment I landed, my hair suddenly become bird's nest because the humidity. So my hair was like, suddenly, and I couldn't breathe because it's an island, right? So the air pressure is very heavy. So I was like, oh, man, it's wet. I'm sweating, and my hair looked like a mess, and I couldn't breathe, and I don't know where the meeting is going to be. So that night, the dinner was not very good because Hawaii dinner was very expensive, way more than what we pay in continent U.S. So I was not very happy, and I couldn't sleep. And I was just, doing my stuff, reading my Bibles, and just not knowing what I'm supposed to do the next day, okay? And then until about 5 a.m., I turned on the TV because I can't sleep. I might as well watch something on TV, right? The first thing that popped up was the Asian civil engineering, I don't remember the name. I think it was spelled, Asia, and then was meeting in this hall at this time. I think it was 8 a.m. at this place. So suddenly I realized it was at this hotel and which room it's going to be. So that was good. And then I just saw that news, my phone rang. So Dr. Mehta called me and said, hey, I'm going to give you the funding. Oh, no, ASC called me. So he called me and said, hey, the committee just approved your funding. You're good to go. I was very happy. And I wrote an email to Dr. Mehta right away. I said, ASC just approved my funding. Within half an hour, he wrote back to me and said, okay, I also approve your funding. So that was the moment I know we can go to the Philippines. And I went to that meeting. I was a little early. I was sitting in the back. Nobody talked to me because nobody has never met me, and I have never met anybody. And then the important people start coming in, and there's a lady from South Africa. She's the ASC's international relations person, and she was at that meeting. And I went to her and said, Megan, I need to meet the Philippine representatives. And she was like, oh, just wait a minute, he will be coming. And then they start meeting. So I was sitting there and doing work on my laptop. They were sitting in a circle. I was sitting way back by myself because nobody told me what I'm supposed to do there. It was after their meeting. Then the Philippine representative come to me and say, oh, you're Dr. Chen? I'm like, yes. So please come. And then he introduced me to the people. And then right there, they're like, yeah, no problem, just come. I flew all the way to Hawaii just for that. Okay, then after that, I have a few more days in Hawaii, so I went sightseeing and then take my flight back to America. Then we start getting busy. But by that time, the original team members already have their jobs all lined up. So they say, sorry, we can't come. So I have to recreate the whole team. I called the wing experts, wing committee in ASC, asked if they can recommend some names. I called the forensics, my own team, and asked who are the people that I can invite. And I even called the Corps of Engineers and asked, and they sent that young man to come. So within very short time, we formed the team. Everybody buy their tickets, and we start to coordinate. And that is how that trip was made. Okay. The same thing with the Puerto Rico trip. So the Puerto Rico trip, we have to ask the local power utilities because our objective was really doing structural investigation but correlate climate or the storm damage to structure damage. So, to the transmission system damage. So we have to get their data. And the first thing is we need to get their approval to be there and do the investigation. And so we call the local schools trying to get, at that time, it becomes very political. Nobody wanted to talk to anybody, and nobody knows who's in charge. And we were able to finally, through the professor in Mayaguez, get connection with PREPA. And then we were hosted one of meeting. It's very interesting because when we landed, the next day we drive all the way to San Juan, the capital, and meet with them. And while we were meeting inside, they are very nice people. But then outside, there are people protesting. There are loudspeakers complaining in Spanish, because at that time, people have no power for months. Okay? So it's really, really, people are very upset. Okay? So we don't know what to expect. But nonetheless, we have our job done. Okay? The VISAC investigation, when we decided we wanted to go and investigate, we talked to Shen and wanted to see if the Department of Science would give us some funding. Okay, but that would take a long time. Okay, we don't know who to talk to get the funding. So I went next door to track staff and talked to Jawaha. I say, hey, we're going to do this investigation. Can you help us? So he said, yes, Shen, I'll give you this much money. And then we went to the director, NITT. At that time, it was Sudan Daran. Yeah, Sudan Daran. Yeah, and he heard about our plea, and then he gave us some money. Okay, and so finally we have the money, and then we travel 2 days. We travel to Chennai, and then take the train all the way, because at that time the airport in Vizag was completely closed. No airplane coming in, going out. So we have to take the train. It takes us more than 24 hours to finally get to Vizag. And the rest is the investigation. Okay, so that was challenging, but we were very glad that we reached out to Andhra University, because at least some group locally know that we are coming. Okay, in fact, we talked to even the designers for a lot of the gas stations, because there are a lot of damage to gas stations, but we don't know how they would design. We went to their office, and the structural engineer was adamant, our design is good enough. We don't know why it's damaged, but our design is good enough. There's no problem. People are very scared that we represent either the insurance or some other group, especially when you have a foreigner travel with you. So you have to be mindful that you will get a lot of resistance locally. Okay, but people in general are nice. Okay, so when we went to some of the schools and investigate their buildings, the directors are all very kind to allow us in the building to do investigation. Okay, and then your job, that was the investigation. Coming back and do the analysis is the challenge. Okay, and so after so long, that was 2014, we finally put our data together. So we have finally submit our paper for Vizag investigation, and hopefully it will get published this year. I'm making the corrections right now. Okay, but these are very, very big scale investigations. Okay, really, really stretch your forensic imagination, because when you go there, but that is why the data cannot be analyzed on a single building basis. Traditionally, when we do this kind of disaster assessment, we typically are using statistics. How many buildings were damaged? This is the most likely kind of damage modes that we see, the roof damage, and then what is the structural connection? This is a bad design, and so forth. But I think today the tools for investigation is enriching. Okay, so we have GPS cameras, we have all kinds of remote sensors. I've never taken our lasers to do assessment yet, but I imagine very soon those will be the technology that you use for that. In the Philippines, it was the first time that somebody has used a drone for flying inspection. Okay, so I have no drone experience, but that is something that can be explored. Okay, but then again, you have a lot of data. Okay, the post-processing of the data becomes extremely important. Okay, and every project that we did, even the Vizag, we developed a website to share our data. Okay, so if you know our web address, you are able to see all the pictures we have taken and create your own opinion. Okay, so those are the attitudes from ASC, that we are here to share information, where the scientific community, engineering community share information so that we can learn from the experience. Okay, so those are the things that we do for those events. Okay, but it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of your efforts, and but it's really worth it. Okay, during the Philippines trip, 6,000 people died. Okay, and when we were traveling, in one of the hotel compound, there's a gentleman that was helping, very helpful, and then of course we are professors, and we're looking, this is why, and we're talking like we know everything, and then suddenly he was telling us something, and then the interpreter told us that his son died in that storm. His head was shot off by a broken window. And then suddenly everybody just go very quiet, because you realize that people's suffering is what you're facing. Okay, even though you don't see that. Okay, but when the storm happens, you are in the midst of a post-event of real human suffering. Okay, you cannot imagine what they go through. Okay, and the interpreters, they are from Manila University, and all of them were telling us that somebody on that island knows somebody closely that died from that storm. Okay, so it helps us understand the importance of what we do. Okay, it also helps us understand that we need to know more about climate change and many other related issues, because this is coming more and more. Okay, I think for the remaining of my career, I'll probably go to a few more of those cases. Okay, but eventually the burden will come to you guys. Okay, how do you start one of those projects? How do you contact the right person to get the funding to support you going to those studies? Need to be explored on your own, unfortunately. Okay, and so my experience hopefully will give you some enlightenment in how this kind of projects happen. Okay, but it is really, really important to maintain a contact with the forensic community. Okay, and so that is usually step number one. Okay, so if you are ever encounter similar situation and you wanted to have somebody to help you make connections, contact me. Okay, I may be able to give you a little bit of connections. So next week I'm going to be in China. Okay, and that was the city where they had the big earthquake and 80,000 people died. Depends on who you talk to. The government say 40, and then other people claim much more. But anyways, the University of Sichuan University, ever since that earthquake, they form a school of disasters. Okay, so their focus is not so much on forensic, because for them it's still something that they don't know, but disaster management. Okay, when there's a disaster happen, people have no food, no water, nothing, and maybe trapped under a lot of debris. How do you quickly go in there and save life is their business, their study. Okay, and so next week we're going there to visit the site of the 2008 earthquake, but this week another earthquake just happened. I think yesterday or the day before, the same location. Okay, and this time I think 12 people died. Okay, so it was again a very significant. So I'm hoping that next week we may be able to engage the School of Disaster and travel to see some of the actual incident there. Okay, but of course, again, our focus, my focus now is more on the energy supply and the energy resilience, energy system resilience. Okay, how quickly they can recover and rebuild. Okay, so those are problems that still has no solutions yet. Okay, and we need a lot more people who's interested in the topic and do study on those areas. Okay. While I know that many of you BTech students already have your projects picked. Okay, but if you have a strong interest in those areas, talk to Dr. Kartik. Okay, maybe we can have some kind of international collaboration, and then continue to push and explore this kind of investigation. And it will be challenging. Okay, the 2010 conference that CN and I put together, the International Workshop on Forensics, we applied the grant 3 times, and finally we got the money. Okay, so you have to be persistent, like Dr. Kishore Mehta told me. Kishore Mehta, that's his name. Okay, if you're passionate about something, you go all in, with funding or without funding. Okay, because it's only when you are serious about that particular subject, then people will take you serious. Okay, and that is really, really important. But of course, that doesn't make you cocky or proud. Okay, but you understand what you do is important. Okay. And so, oh no, this is going backwards. So this is the latest efforts at NITT on similar topic. So this was 2015 January, I believe, that we had the international workshop on health monitoring of civil engineering structures. I want to see where Kartik is.
No, I was not here at that.
You were not. Oh yeah. You have. Yeah, you are out of station. Yeah, but I was very fortunate to. This is Muthu Kumaran from SERC. He came down. He's a very good friend. Muthu. Yeah, and then this is Dr. Ishii, and so we have two professors who just happened to be from Hiroshima University, who happened to be in India. So they quickly come after we invite them. And this is a good friend of mine, Paul Sumitro, and he's doing a lot of sensor designs. He's a industry person, okay. And we and I think this is another speaker from SCRC. So we have constantly pushing, through NITT on this topic. I think in Tamil Nadu at least, this NITT stands before any other university in pushing for health monitoring, forensics, and stuff. We have more than 12 years of collaboration now. Yeah, so hopefully through those younger generations, we can continue to promote an understanding. Okay, so next time when a big storm hits Pondicherry, if you want to investigate, talk to Dr. Kartik. Okay, it can be done. Okay, I left a lot of my tools with CN, so I'm pretty sure he had no problem. You guys use the tools to do investigation. Okay, but it has to be done. Okay, case studies and collection of data is extremely the most important thing of what we do today.
We checked those tools. It is not there in the lab.
Oh, must be in the big cabin in his room. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But if you need anything, let me know. Yeah, whatever within my means, I'll send it to you. Yeah, yeah, we're friends enough to do that. Okay. Yep, that's my last one. Yeah, and I have many friends like Japan, America. So anytime you guys need help, let me know. I'm more than glad to help. Any questions? I think this is I like to conclude the 2 weeks of, and thank you so much for your patience going through these 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure that one of the things that really encouraged me was right after that all the students that you saw in the pictures have graduated and moved on to real job. Bharati and Hari was here, and then Ram Sai, the guy that holds up in Vizag. He called me when he moved back to do his work. He told me that their company was involved in some investigation, and they bought GPS camera. So the thing that they learned, he was able to apply right away. That was really encouraging. Okay, so those are things that you guys need to keep in mind. Okay, you will never know. Some of this will come to you. Yeah, and I can guarantee you, the point cloud analysis will happen within 5 years from today. That India will be, many people will be talking about point cloud analysis, and you already have seen what point cloud is. Okay, and then you will be able to, at least minimal, you can do something with the point cloud data. Okay, yep. Questions? Oh, okay, good. So we're going to pass on a focus group question. This is course feedback. Okay, so please use a few minutes to help us fill out this. Okay, you don't have to put your name down, but this helps us to improve on this class. Okay. You want to do one? Yeah, a few blank pages. GIAN is very good in rallying people.
Professor Shanmugam from CIT has come.
Where is Shanmugam?
The one who we met him in the guest house.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
On last Saturday.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
lady
I
is
don't.
PhD student.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
These are all our
Graduates, yeah.
She was a passed out MTech girl
Mm.
from BHU.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another
All your students, yeah.
some practicing engineers
Yep,
and
yeah.
students are here.
Yeah.
He's like your younger brother.
Yeah.
At the moment, first when I saw,
Yeah,
Professor
he
Shen,
looks like.
he looks too young. Then you are sitting in that.
Yeah, I'm
corner.
sitting on the far end, yeah.
I think I was out of country at
Yep,
that time.
yep.
I was not there
Right.
for this.
Yep.
For both the workshop, the first international workshop that year,
2010. Yep.
I went
You
to
were
Dwarka.
Mm.
I was in that thing. So for 10 days I was not there. So it happened at that time.
Yeah. Well, next one you have to be there. Yeah.
All the research scholars and
I don't remember
here.
what happened
They
to
are
Basca.
standing.
I think that time many people are out. Basca was not there.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the civil engineering department, no faculty.
No faculty. Yeah, except for CN. Yeah.
I think this guy is from NIT Puducherry. The one. He's not from SCLC.
Which one?
He looks like Madappa.
Oh.
NIT Puducherry.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Madappa.
Yeah, Malappa from he was assistant professor at that
Assistant
time.
professor,
Yep,
correct.
yeah. Puducherry. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't talked to him for a long time. He wanted me to help him get some instruments.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing health monitoring
Health
using vibration. Yeah, and we interacted. Yeah.
Yeah, he is structural dynamics. He's into structural
The
dynamics.
dynamics. Yeah. Yeah.
He came to our college
Mm.
for the project evaluation
Uh-huh.
for the undergraduate students.
Oh.
He was here last month, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In the month of
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's.
You can use that.
Oh, okay, okay. That's a very good question. Okay, I will consider two scenarios. One is when you go out looking for a company that do forensics.
Yes, sir.
Okay, repair, rehabilitation, and forensics. You can tell them about what you learn here. Okay, and tell them that what is the lessons learned here. Okay, and I think that would be very intriguing because they will be doing this, and then they didn't realize that hey, there are actually interaction at the international level on this topic. Okay, so I think mention this will be helpful. And the other one is actually if you just go out there and interview at a consulting company, for example, and then you let them know you have a strong interest in forensics.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that will open up a lot of conversation. They will be like, what are you talking about? What is forensics? Then you will tell them, okay, this is my understanding what forensics do, and then you can elaborate, what you understand about what the Western people do. And usually for job interviews, okay, companies are not just hiring you for one project, two projects. They're looking at long term. So you can tell them, this is my interest, and if I would work for your company, I'm hoping that in the long run I can contribute by maybe develop an expertise in this company for doing forensics, because this is big business and will be bigger in the very near future. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you when you go to interviews, speak your mind. I like to describe job interview as marriage. You look at the other person, they also look at you. So it's not always they choose you, but you also have to choose them. So if you have that kind of attitude, you can be more at ease, because you're choosing the company. So you don't feel like, oh, I want something from them. But they always look at you like you wanted to come to my company, right? Yeah. So having an attitude that this is really a marriage. If I'm not happy with your company, I'm going anyways, right? So with that attitude, you can speak your mind much more at ease. Yeah.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would like to thank you for teaching us the common sense from literature, Latin language, from technicalities.
Yeah.
You covered everything.
Yes.
I would like to thank you for this.
You're welcome. Yeah.
This kind of international thing, I'm come for the first time.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I teach you for that.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully we do more. Yeah.
So this was way more than I expected. Actually.
Okay.
So if any other workshop is based on forensics, I'll surely attend.
Very good. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I would even recommend other students to attend this.
Good.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And-
Very nice. Yeah.
And maybe it should not be limited to only GIAN, because most of them are not knowing about this.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it should be-
actually, this is the first time that we offer this through GIAN.
Yes.
Yeah. In the past, we have organized through other venues as well. Yeah. Self-support including. Yeah. So we definitely will do more of this. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, Dr. Shen recover quick so that he can share even more experience. Yeah. He's like we combine. Yeah. So definitely you'll benefit a lot from his experience.
So I would like to thank you because you share your experience and knowledge with us. So it will really helpful in our next future in future. So thank you, sir.
Yep. And I'm hoping that many things I described, it will be maybe just passing. But someday when you do a certain job, you may remember something that we describe here, and hopefully that will be helpful. Yeah.
So thank you very much, sir, for being here. So I like the way of your explanation, everything, and clearing all the doubts. So actually, I have one question. So how any engineer, how one would be notified that he or she is a forensic engineer?
That's a very good question. So in the U.S., we have actually a business register that identify experts. So I'm in the register. My name is there. So if any lawyers or insurance company or people wanted to find a forensic investigator of certain nature, they will look through that register. Yeah, I think that would be a first step. So if you guys work for a certain company or even a university can take the initiative of publishing such a register, and that will be very helpful. Yeah, and once you start doing that, then people got wing. Oh, they have a database. Everything is about data. So if they recognize that you have a very valid database, then that becomes valuable. People will come to you and please add me to your register. So that is the first very important thing. And the other one is by word of mouth. Okay, so let people know this is what you do, and maybe go to ASC meetings, or civil engineering meeting, Institute of Civil Engineering meetings, and let your colleagues know that hey, I have an interest in forensics and I do some forensic work, and then they will help bring business to you. But more important, like what you've been doing is very good. Start collecting failure data, okay? Because once you collect sufficient, you hone in your skill, and create your own investigation procedure sheets and so forth. And that way, you are really bringing up a practice, okay? The beginning civil engineers, I often wonder, how civil engineering profession comes about. I believe it's people has a need. They have homes need to be built. And this guy is serious enough to do this, wanting to know how to do it properly. And that guy becomes the first civil engineer. And I think that is how our profession developed. Okay, so yeah, step number 1, let people know you do. Step number 2, if there is a possibility of a register, do that. Step number 3 is collect your case studies. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And one more thing,
Yeah.
like personal question. Actually,
Okay, sure.
my communication is so poor, so someone doesn't get what I am saying.
Ah.
So I wanna improve with this.
Okay.
How to improve?
Just speak. Yeah. Just
Speak in English.
Speak in English. Communicate with your colleagues. If somebody that can help you critique your speaking, that will be even helpful. Yeah.
Don't mingle with your guys.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Your language.
Yeah.
You try to speak whom you want to interact
Right.
in English.
Yeah.
With English interacting guys.
Yeah.
So I don't think here this environment will not be a difficult one. Most of the don't speak in Hindi. Go ahead with the English.
Speak in Tamil. No.
Not even in Tamil. He doesn't know Tamil, I think. You know Tamil?
No. See, I know chapati. I know nandri.
Vanga.
Wanga. Cherry. Yeah, I learned. Yeah, by listening to people.
Main thing is accent, to get accent. So
No, actually, accent will always be there. Everybody speaks with an accent, but like I noticed that I can speak with civil engineering faculty because we communicate numerous times. But if I go to mechanical, suddenly, yeah. So it is something that you have to get used to. Okay, hearing and speaking. Yeah, the way that you speak, the facial expressions, they all communicate. So the only way to improve is to mingle, get involved in that group. Yeah, I think in the language term it's called immersion. Immerse yourself in that environment. Yeah.
Just 10-15 days you will get the flow.
Yeah.
After that you no need to bother in what tense you are talking and other things.
Right.
First time it will be very erroneous, and later on you can pick up that.
Yeah.
That's what how many people who work in lots of multinational companies, they doesn't speak a good English. And after that, they just mingle with their team and they flawlessly talk.
Yeah. Okay.
So, anything else? Bharati, Hari, you want to say something?
Yeah, you're the head jury now. You should be able to give a grand. Remember old man Shamugan? He would stand up in 2010. He stand up and start thanking the stars. Everybody's like, wow.
Thank you, sir. I would like to tell that thank you for being here for this course.
Thank
and
you.
I want to say that I have one question in my mind that you speak about some LIDAR project and you have knowledge in that.
Yeah.
And some project you have done.
Mm.
So in America, some government companies and private companies doing that project in LIDAR.
Oh yeah, many companies now. Yeah, it's not yet industry standard, but the radar is used many times. Yeah.
That's only
Yeah,
my question.
no problem.
So what is the difference from other participant to our case? So they are coming for the subject.
Yep.
So we are coming for the professor. Yes, we have traveled from 2014 onwards.
Yeah.
So there is a reason. So my only the doubt is that so being academician, so we are academician.
Yeah.
So we don't have enough scope to investigate the building or anything. So in particular case,
Yeah.
I'm talking about our case. So we are the people only we are making the good engineering graduate.
Yeah.
So after that they are going to be industry. So industry, the academician and students,
Yeah.
they're not well connected.
Yeah.
So how we can improve that?
Well, again, look to the master CN. You know what CN has done. Yep.
Okay, if CS, I mean, if in Trichy is the only one,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the total engineering graduate is
Many.
Many,
Yep.
many.
Yep. Well, I think the only way is just do it. Yeah.
Just do it, earn name,
Yeah.
get famous, familiarize.
Yep.
You will be number one
Yep.
on stage
Yeah.
at one point of time.
I think it's really impressive what CN has done, because remember when we went to Andhra, and I was asking the professor, so he done a lot of consulting. Later on, I found out, but he knows CN. He heard of CN. Yeah, and even IIT Prasad and all those guys, they all know what CN is doing. Okay, you know, if you ask CN, just make friends, and then make connections, you know, and people ask if they can have problems solved. He start doing it. He just do it. Yeah, and that's how he start. I believe that's the way. Yeah, because by the time I know him, he already done so many projects. Yeah.
So instead of that, whatever you people are doing, who are the familiarized people, they must be recorded. Either they may be start on website or something.
Right. Yeah.
There may be recorded their video lectures and their whatever the case studies.
Yeah.
And everything,
Uh-huh.
and easily accessible, not a costly business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subscription is very difficult to all the college people.
Yeah. When I was a BTech student, first time when I was freshman, I have a very good friend. He was a PhD student, and he worked for the professor. So the professor is doing investigation. So my very first job was to go out with him and dig soil. You know, so we collect soil sample. At that time, I don't know what I was doing, but then at BTech, when I graduate, we have a senior year seminar. So that year, the teacher suggested we do forensics, and we were team up in little groups. So I remember we have only 4 lectures, 4 different professors talk about what they do, and then we were formed in teams, kind of like what you guys do. We go, they give us a very specific project. We're not even going to investigate. It was a transportation case. the car skid and then hit another car. So we have the drawings, and then we, based on the drawing, we calculate how fast the car was traveling and how far he was skidding, the skid marks on the ground, and then we defend, kind of like what you guys did the other day. And that was my first exposure to forensic. And then after I graduated doing postdoc, I started, there are some companies and friends that work consulting companies, and we're talking, and I say, hey, if you want, I can help you do investigation. So I do 1 bridge, 2 bridge, and then, slowly when I become a professor, this company contact me. So we have a company that hire many professors in the department to do various consulting expertise. And at that time, I'm blasting in vibration. And so we start doing more and more and more. Yeah. And then people go wind that we do, they just come and hire me. Yeah. So that is how the business started. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This is not for Shen sir, this is for JK sir. When we are planning to organize a similar type of course in GIAN, when will be the next course will be there?
GIAN, when next proposal comes, definitely we can go, but next year by this time we will plan the second Indo-US workshop.
Oh, that's good news.
I think that will be for probably next December. Next December. Still more glimpse. We will be just going for it. We will just go for it. Yeah, in a very short moment when this mishap happened to Professor C, and then I was about to, and the time limit was very short. We did communicated, we informed them, because all the course things related works will be addressed only to CNSS, because we gave him as the corresponding, though my name also was added, so he was the corresponding person, so whatever the mails, I was unable to get it. So then with the help of our director madam and Venkatramani sir, we were able to do it. So we look forward for another GIAN course also, surely in a short while.
Yeah. But to Bharati and Harit, I encourage, next time when we have this course, you guys need to bring case studies. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it will be more interactive.
Yes. Yeah. I always maintain, even though I travel to China, India, I don't stand here as if I am the expert from the West. Okay. I like to interact with the local experts. Okay, so it's like Raika and Ken Copper, you equally have experts here, but we need to make them known, and I think that is what international collaboration means. Yeah, it's not one side; it should be both sides. If CN is not hurt, he will be here. He will be sharing the 5 days class. We'll be doing half. Yeah. But thank you, Dr. Kardik, because he, last minute, I know how much stress. I think he probably aged last month. Because 2014, who doesn't have that much gray hair. But yeah, he stepped in, and thank you so much. What a friend. Yeah, what a friend. Yeah. Okay, now.